Okay, so my name is Terry Vamvalis. I am with the Office of Academic Support. I oversee many of the services that are offered by this particular office, and one being the Tutor program and some of the other support I'm going to talk about during my presentation. So first, before we begin, the introduction, I've already gone through that. And I apologize, I'm looking at the slide, it's a little too small, so I'll have to correct that in the future. We're going to do a short exercise. I'm going to also talk about some considerations, some of the signs you need, and actually, my apologies, actually this is flip-flopped, I'm sorry. We're going to talk about some of the signs you need, that you might need some support. We're also going to talk about some of the skills that you need to be an effective online learner, and then we're going to talk about some of those skills if you don't have those, some of the abilities and the strategies, and then we're going to get into some of the programs offered, and then I'm going to answer some questions. So first, before we begin, I want to kind of get an idea where everybody is coming from. So if you could type into the chat area, you don't have to raise your hand, what you think it means to you, okay, to be an effective learner. So for instance, some of the skills you might need to be a good learner. So go right ahead, just start typing. There's no right or wrong answer here, by the way. Okay, technology, good. Time management, good. Yep, time management again. Dedication, absolutely. Staying on top of the curriculum, right effectively, yep. Organizational skills, excellent. Okay, good. Okay, so let me ask everyone here today, what out of all of those, or maybe some other skills, are you exercising today in your courses? So we're, what, about almost 4 weeks into the September term? So are you using some of the time management skills? Are you using some of the good listening skills? Some of the writing skills? And if not, or you might think that you're not necessarily using them well, what skills do you feel you need further development? Okay, so writing skills you're using, good. Things are going so far, good, Ron? So you're using some of those skills. Okay, any skills that you feel, now that you're into the first term, that you need to develop? Time management, trying to stay on top of curriculum, access to subject tutoring, okay? Okay. Alrighty. I see Kevin's typing, so I'll just wait before I proceed to the next slide. Subject tutoring, okay. And Ann also is typing, so I'll just wait one moment. Okay, second tutoring. Okay, I might have to ask you to explain that one. Okay, so let's talk about maybe some signs that you might need some support. And of course, this is not listing them all. There might be other things that you can come up with. But the first sign is you're falling behind, especially if you're already in the four weeks of a term early on and you find that you can't keep up with one, two, or many. Oh, okay. Sorry, Ann. All right. So are you falling behind on one course, two courses, all of the courses? You're getting some poor grades right off the bat. You're having problems with the technology, especially in some of the math classes. You might be having some difficulty downloading some of the software or even using some of the software. Your discussions and participation is lacking, and we can talk a little bit about that. And that you're just not active in general, that you've just decided that I'm not going to be active. Okay, thank you, Kevin. So I really want to talk about some of the considerations and benefits, and the reason why I'm not going to jump into the tutoring right now is because I want to instill some of these things already. Because sometimes when you come, now you're 4 weeks into the term, and maybe some of those things apply to you, and then I want some discussions about that afterwards. But it might be your perspective when it comes to online learning. And so I want you to kind of look at that traditional environment really does translate to an online learning environment. Granted, maybe the methods of the information is delivered slightly different, but in general, kind of look at it that the the online is mimicking the classroom. So for instance, your online discussions are mimicking the classroom environment, again, just virtually. All right, and as far as your time is concerned, you can go to a traditional classroom and go 2 or 3 times a week depending. It's kind of the same thing. So when you look at your online environment, if you're taking just say one course, look at it that you're going to attend your online course 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, and at least for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. If you can't do an hour and a half, maybe you need to attend it 4 times a week in less time. Okay, so I guess look at it slightly different, okay, than you might be looking at it now. The other thing too is that if you weren't told, I'm going to tell you today, that you should look at that you're going to be spending anywhere 12 to 16 hours a week, okay, per course. Okay, now, in some cases you might find you might be spending less because maybe the material is very easy and you understand it, or it might be really difficult and you might be spending more than 16 hours a week. Okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing, okay, but you need to know that a certain amount of time does need to be dedicated to the course. Okay, again, with your traditional courses, when you leave your classroom you have assignments, homework. It's the same thing here. The difference and I don't know if it's necessarily the difference, but the online environment, the way you communicate is through writing, and it's writing in the discussions area, it's writing assignments, and it's submitting those papers, it's doing presentations which are using visuals and words, and possibly if you are meeting in a room like this, you're going to be using basically the spoken word. All right, and so in some respects, it's kind of the same thing, all right? It just feels maybe different because you're not in the classroom. And again, I just, want to put part, the experience, whether it's in a traditional or if it's online, stress. It is part of the experience, okay? And it's how you actually deal and place the stress is the key. So let's talk about some of the benefits too. Again, you're 4 weeks into the term. What are the benefits? Are you seeing the benefits? Hopefully you are. In an online environment, you have time to think. Okay, you don't have to react to a posting right away. You have time to research the thought, and you have time to absorb somebody else's perspective and comments before responding. That's huge, by the way. So for students that, and I call them lurkers, if you're not, like for instance in a classroom, those students that like to sit in the back of the classroom because they're hoping they're not going to get their, not going to be chosen to answer a question or to share their ideas. The people that are in the online are kind of do the same thing. They kind of lurk and they kind of watch some of the posts, and then they post maybe midway through the discussion week. All right, be careful of this. A lot of you have mentioned I'm afraid to fall behind. If you're waiting to the last day to post something, you're definitely going to fall behind, and you're not going to reap the benefits, by the way, of having someone expand upon your perspective or idea, or maybe possibly call you out on your idea that you posted, forcing you to do maybe additional research, forcing you to enhance maybe the depth of the knowledge that you have obtained, that maybe it should be a little bit deeper. Okay, so be careful of lurking too long, okay, or falling behind on those discussions, because truly you will, again, miss out on those benefits. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you like. And again, it does provide you the ability to work at your own pace, as long as you're obviously, meeting the deadlines, as well as the environment. Okay, so maybe you really don't like the online, or excuse me, the traditional classroom because, it does put you on the spot, and it's not conducive to the way you learn. Well, you have the opportunity to put yourself in a place where it is conducive for that. And the last point I want to make here is that you are the boss. Okay, you are accountable and responsible. In a classroom, you're somewhat accounted by the teacher, the instructor. Okay, here you actually have to hold yourself accountable. Okay, so many of you already have given me what it means to be a successful learner, all right? And, again, I don't want to get into the tutoring yet. I want to get into the resources because I want to kind of just reinforce some of the things that you already pointed out, and maybe some of the things that you haven't pointed out. Obviously assignments are done on time, okay, and of high quality. And what that means is that you didn't write the paper the night before. And again, this goes to time management, organizing, possibly that maybe you're not understanding some of the concepts in the materials or the assignment. And so therefore the quality of the work is probably not meeting the standards of the instructor, and that's why you might be getting some poor grades. So we know that. Of course, the second point is that you're looking for help now. So you've already taken the action, by the way, which really goes to the second point as well. You're here today because you need to know, for whatever reason, maybe some of you're experiencing some of the things falling behind, that you're being proactive, finding out what resources are available to you so that you can be successful. The other thing too is be realistic about what you can and cannot do. Now granted, you're already in the term, you've already committed to some courses, but maybe taking 3 courses was too much, and maybe you really don't have a choice because of financial aid. Maybe possibly you took a math course that you probably should have taken the other one, all right? Again, it's probably a little too late to do that, but those are the discussions you need to have with your mentor. But just be realistic of what you can do. And then, of course, the next point, and the reason why I bring this up is because this does go to that you might need some support. If you've decided that you're just going to really add education on, your goal of attaining a degree and really have no time in your life, and you're just adding it on at the end of the day or whenever you have the time, you're not going to be very successful, unfortunately. Okay, we have students that do this and don't realize that some things do have to probably be put on hold. So if you are one of those people that are looking at this as that this is not part of my life, I'll just do it when I get a chance, you might want to reevaluate that. And again, it goes back to being realistic. Maybe instead of, again, taking 3, you take 1, of which that can be included in part of your life. And then the last thing, obviously, you've reached your goal. All right, so enough about that. So you've already really addressed many of these, okay? Time management is huge, okay, especially in this type of environment, and especially as adult learners. We have other commitments that are really fighting for our time, and trying to find time to do our coursework is a challenge, okay, and one that needs to be managed. That's why it's called time management. It's not going to happen on its own. It's going to happen because you're going to make it happen. The other thing too is learning styles. Now, nobody mentioned learning styles here. Knowing your learning style is very important, and it's also very important not only how you apply yourself, but also, like for instance, let's just say you're a visual learner. Okay, in an online learning environment, visual means a little bit different things to different people. If you're a visual that needs images, okay, and then you look at the text, or you need text, okay, and not so many images, but the course you're in is only giving you a lot of text and not visuals, what are you going to do, okay, to enhance that learning if in fact your learning style is a visual, meaning an image type of a person? You need to go and find a way to kind of include that into your learning, all right? The other thing too is it might be that the instructor is trying to get you to look at it in a different way versus using an image, all right? So understanding your learning style is really important. Academic risk-taking doesn't mean to go jump into something just to take a risk and see how it goes. What that means is that make sure you know when you are taking that risk that you're prepared for it. So if you know that you need, like some of you already mentioned, maybe writing skills, okay, are important. Maybe you're a little weak in that area. It's been a long time since you've written a research paper, say for instance, but you know how to write this type of paper. Make sure you get those resources, and we'll talk about that support. Persistence, active, and engaged. Again, it goes back to if you're not engaged, you're falling behind, you're not in the discussions, you're not communicating with your instructor, your mentor, okay, and you're being reactive to certain things and not being proactive, that is something that you need to step up, okay? That is definitely a skill and an ability, okay? That is important. Reflective, not reactive, be open-minded. What I mean there is It takes a lot, okay, for someone to accept, criticism, all right? And if it's constructive, great, okay? And that means in a discussion or maybe some feedback from your instructor. That is an opportunity for you to recognize, okay, well, maybe I really did miss the point there, okay? Let me step back instead of reacting, tell the instructor that they're wrong. The instructor probably is right. You need to step back and see what you missed, okay? If you're not sure, then that is an opportunity to talk to your instructor and saying, I'm really not sure what you're saying. Can we talk about that? Because I'm not sure what I missed here. I thought I did a really good job on this paper. I read your feedback. I'm still confused, all right? But again, look at it as an opportunity to enhance your learning, okay, versus, well, I know what I'm talking about, all right? There's a big difference there, by the way. I'm not going to review this again, but your personal situation limitations, again, understanding your limitations, and then, I guess, we've already talked about, the resources that are available, of which we're going to talk about right now. So before I go into this, any questions, comments, anything that you want to share at the moment? Okay, so we're quiet. Okay, so let's talk about the peer tutor option. This particular tutor is a CDL student, okay? Typically my tutors have been with me for quite some time. They have a certain amount of courses that they offer assistance with. We have some students too that have graduated that volunteer their time and do offer tutoring support. All of this support is offered online, meaning through email, through Illuminate, through phone, some cases maybe through text. It all depends on the type of support that you both have agreed upon. The tutor is meant to be a supplemental, okay? The tutor is not there to teach you, the instructor is, okay? So if you're having a problem, let's just say for instance, you're 4 weeks into it, the first module is fine, you get to the second module and you go, oh, I don't understand what they're talking about. That particular tutor is there to help hopefully clarify and work through maybe some of those roadblocks of understanding what maybe that concept is. Or possibly maybe you're just struggling with, you're really not quite sure what the assignment is and what the assignment is asking. Or it's possible that you might have missed something in the first module that really carried over obviously into the second module. Okay, so they're there to really reinforce that content, okay? They are there to support your efforts in completing those assignments, okay? So just be aware of what type of, what the tutor's role is. Now, I will say that I don't have tutors for every subject. I have tutors, I have over 300 tutors, which covers a lot. Some tutors, I've got, 5 tutors only for stats, but I might have 20 for the intro to psychology. So be aware that if I don't have a tutor, I do go out and seek one for you, or I try to hone in on, is it the content that you're having problems with, or are you having a problem actually writing? So really clearly telling me what you're struggling with does define in which direction I send you, okay? The peer tutor can be there to help you with a module. That peer tutor can be there for the entire term. It all depends on the type of support you feel you need, okay? The tutor is not there to meet with you every single night. That tutor is, and typically I tell the tutor, once, maybe twice a week at the most. If you feel that you need a tutor every single night, we need to talk. You and I need to talk, okay? And that means maybe you need to talk to your instructor, maybe you need to talk to your mentor, maybe this wasn't the course that you should have chosen. I don't know. But we need to make sure that we have open communication when it comes to this. Now, I'm going to bring something up for you if you're not aware. To locate, or ask, I should say, ask for a tutor, you would go to this website. And I'm going to pull it up if you just give me a moment. I just pushed the link out to the chat area. And to the far right of this web page, it says request a peer tutor, and I'll talk about the academic coach in a minute, okay? Now, I will tell you the link The link is broken, which we've been working on it for the last 2 days. So please use the Request a Tutor form doc. There is an RTF formatted document that you can complete, and then what you can do is then send it via email, okay, to the Office of Academic Support. And I believe that is on that website too. You can just provide, yeah, there's the email. And then what happens is Jody Ostrander, who assists me with this, takes that information and places it in a database that I pull reports on. Now I will tell you right now, I am behind in making those assignments, so please be patient if you do need one. We have an enormous amount of requests this term for different types of support. However, okay, if it is really, really, really urgent, okay, you know, you do get a response, and we might direct you to other resources while we are providing or looking for a tutor for you, okay? A tutor also, I should let you know, is not assigned the same day. Typically it takes probably, you know, 5 to 7 days. The reason being is that I reach out to my tutors. I say, are you available? This is the situation. The tutor has the option to decline. I should let you know that. If they decline, then I have to go to my other group of tutors. And they might decline for lots of reasons, by the way, because if they're an active student, they might have a full course load, and they are not required to actually take the assignment. So I just want to make sure that you're all aware of that. So any questions about that before I move on? Okay, thank you, Rob. So what about additional tutoring? Okay, so if you're not aware, okay, Smart Thinking, which is available, and again I'm going to come out here because you might not know, and I apologize if you do, but it's always, I think, necessary to repeat certain things. On the Learning Support tab under My ESC, okay, which is the green support tab, the first box that says Get Tutoring and Help, you've got Smart Thinking. Now I'm going to push this out as well. You might want to bookmark this page and be very familiar with this. Smart Thinking gives you content tutoring as well as writing assistance. So you can send your papers directly to Smart Thinking, and they will provide feedback within 24 hours. Now peak time, sometimes it goes to 36 hours, but typically 24 hours. And you don't receive an email, by the way. You have to go to the inbox in Smart Thinking and pull up, okay, the paper they submitted back to you. And it will give you the feedback. Say, for instance, you know, your thesis is a little weak. You might want to make it a little stronger. You know, citing some sources, you know, it looks like you were a little weak there. You know, you might want to beef it up in this area. So they're not editing, by the way. Okay, just want to make sure we're clear. They do not edit your paper. They provide feedback so you can develop it, make it a stronger paper, and then submit it. Warning, do not submit it, okay, 24 hours prior to it being due, because you do really need some time to incorporate some of that feedback. All right, so the earlier the better. Content tutoring. So let's just say, for instance, you come to me and you want a peer tutor. And I know that it's probably going to take me a little longer to get a particular tutor for you for a particular class, but I know Smart Thinking is available. I'm probably going to direct you to Smart Thinking first, because they have like 4 options for you when it comes to tutoring. So you can get a one-on-one. You just have to make those arrangements. You know, they're half-hour increments of tutoring assistance. I believe they have group where you can go right online in a group and have some obtain some tutoring. They have chats, live chats, okay, and you can submit a question, okay, about a particular area you might have having difficulty with. So sign yourself up if you haven't, and how you sign up is just click on that link on that page that I showed you. It's going to ask you to sign in. You're going to sign in with your username that you sign into Angel. Once you get into Smart Thinking, then you can create your own username and password. And then the other way to get tutoring, if you are a CDL student, okay, let me just make sure we're clear on this. A CDL student, 100%. Your center is obviously the Center for Distance Learning, all right? But if you're close to a center All right, like for instance, if you're close to the Latham, New York Center, and you live in Albany, say for instance, and you really believe you need a face-to-face, that you don't think that, you know, working with somebody online is going to be of help, let me know that. And then I can contact that center's director of academic support to see if they have somebody that can assist you. There is no guarantee there, by the way. They do have some limited resources in certain areas. And the other thing too is that, you know, they're not familiar with CDL courses. So if you're having problems with the Algebra's portal, they're not going to be able to help you with that, but they can help you with a basic understanding of algebra. But again, it's not guaranteed. But it has to go through me, and then I contact the center to see if that's available, and then I make the connection. Now, if you are a center student, let's just say you are a Northeast Center student, and you decided to take a CDL course, you can go right directly to your center and ask for assistance. But be aware that most likely they might not be familiar with the course itself or how it's conducted online, but they're going to be familiar obviously with, you know, algebra's algebra, right? So you can go right directly to your center because you're already a center student. And that doesn't mean you can't get a tutor from the Center for Distance Learning. You absolutely can. So I guess my point is, we look at it that you are a Empire State College student, and all services are available to you regardless of what center you're associated with. It's just that it's the manner in which you go about doing it. So for CDL courses or a CDL student, you have to come through me. I can then navigate the center part for you. If you're a center student, you can go directly to your center, and you also can come to me for assistance. So hopefully that makes some sense. Here's something else. Now, this is not a formal program. Okay, this is a suggestion, and I've had this work very well depending. Let's just say, for instance, I do not have a tutor for you, and there isn't really any assistance at one of the centers. But you also recognize that there's some other students that are struggling in the course. You also recognize maybe that there's a student in there that's helping. You can suggest to the group of students, how about we do a study group? Would anybody be interested in meeting at Illuminate and working through, okay, the assignment or the program together? That is an option, by the way. And I just put up some guidelines here, by the way, as far as how many students can participate at once. It really is up to you. If you want to get more students or less students, that's fine. And again, typically some of the study groups that I've helped get started, they meet 1 to 2 times a week. Typically it's in the evenings, okay, and I've seen it where they've met once. I've seen it where they've met, for 1 hour. I've seen it where they've, met for 2 or 3 hours. I will provide you the Illuminate link, okay? Somebody has to be the moderator. I will do the training on it. I will teach you how to use Illuminate. So that is an option for you. So just be aware, okay, if you like to kind of, dabble in that. Course assistant. Well, this is basically a higher level or senior peer tutor is the way I look at it. I embed the student into a course. So if you come to me and you tell me you need some assistance with statistics, I already know for a fact that I have right now, I think 7 or 8 sections of statistics covered with a course assistant. You might, for whatever reason, miss the fact that you had one in your course. I might say to you, okay, you're in such and such a course. They have a course assistant. Her name or his name is. Please contact that course assistant through course mail, or here's their personal email address. I will also contact the course assistant and make them aware that you are needing some assistance, and they will also reach out to you. They provide the same level of support that a peer tutor offers. Okay, so it's not any different. The difference is that they are in the course, so they can see the modules, they can see the portal, they work with the instructor very closely, okay? So if they're unclear about something, they're going right directly to the instructor saying, I'm working with this student and we're having a problem with this, and honestly, I'm not really quite sure how to help, or I'm struggling with the same thing, can you help us, all right? That's the difference between a peer tutor. Peer tutor, by the way, I should say, does get the syllabus I will provide it if in fact you don't. I do ask students to provide that to their tutor, but for whatever reason, if it doesn't happen, I provide the peer tutor the textbook as well as the syllabus. So any questions about that? I see somebody's typing. Go right ahead if you have a comment. Yes, the professors know who they are because they had to approve a course assistant being embedded into their course. And so they've already made that connection with a course assistant. If in some cases, the professor recommended the student to be the course assistant. The professor is asked to put an announcement in their course, and the course assistant is also asked to introduce themselves to the students. Does that answer your question? Great. When can one ask for one? And are you asking when one can ask for a course assistant, or when one could ask for, okay, as a student, Anne? Well, Anne, if you're in a course and you recognize the fact that there's a course assistant, you don't have to come to me, by the way. You just reach out to that course assistant and say, I'm having some problems, with this particular concept. Can you help me? Okay, that's one. You don't have to go to your instructor and ask. That course assistant is there, so you can just reach out to them. Okay, it was meant to be easy, so you didn't have to go through the process of asking for a peer tutor. If you're not sure if there's a course assistant, then you can come to me and ask for a peer tutor. I'm going to go through and see if I have a course assistant in that course. If I don't, then I'll provide a peer tutor if I can. Does that answer the question? Okay, great. All right, I see other people are typing, so I'll wait. Oh, I just answered this question. Okay, good. All right, wonderful. How do you find the course assistant? Again, hopefully the instructor has placed, an announcement in the course, indicating that a course assistant is in that course, Now, I don't have course assistants that cover 50% of our courses, just to let you know, all right? That is the goal, all right? So most likely, it depends. Again, I've targeted certain courses right now where I know I get a high number of requests for tutors. So look to see if in the announcement the professor has stated that we have a course assistant and the course assistant's name is. Okay, look for a post in the discussion or even in the announcement that the course assistant is introducing themselves. If you're unsure, Rob, just email me, or if you need a tutor, again, I'm going to go through that process regardless. So if you didn't see there was a course assistant, in fact there is, I'm going to direct you because I'll know because I place all of them. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, intermediate accounting 2. No, there is no course assistant. That I can tell you. However, I do have a very, very limited amount of tutors, but Smart Thinking now provides intermediate accounting tutoring assistance. However, if you do need a peer tutor, let me know. I'll see who's available. Okay, Kevin? Okay. I'm just going to wait because I see that, is it Stephen? Yep, Stephen. Stephen's typing. If it was up to me, I would have a course assistant in every single course. Oh, I should also say that a course assistant is very different than a TA or teaching assistant, okay? It's not the same. I don't oversee teaching assistants. So for instance, in Spanish, there are teaching assistants, okay? They, again, are different, okay? So, and you pretty much know who those teaching assistants are because they work very closely with the instructor, and typically you're working with those TAs in Illuminate sessions. So I want to make sure that we make the differentiation. Okay, so Stephen, I am behind. Will the course tutor or Smart Thinking help me pare down the stuff in my responses and writing that I don't need, helping me to streamline my work? There's a fine line there, Stephen. It is, they can help tighten up, meaning they might make suggestions. Again, they're not going to edit. They might provide some feedback to you. So for instance, are you talking about discussions or you're talking about your writing assignments? Okay. So your discussions, when I participate in online discussions, I always write my posts in Word first, and then I look at it, and then I try to scale it down and tighten, all right, myself. You can certainly send that posting to Smart Thinking and provide them a little, I'm trying to scale this down, I'm having a hard time, any feedback that you can give me. They might come back and say, okay, this is a run-on sentence, you can tighten this up, or that this is very wordy, look for a way, or they might make suggestions of how to tighten that up. And the same thing with your writing. If in fact you need to write a 5-page paper and you've now gone a 10-page paper, well, then that's a problem. Oh, it's more your papers? Okay. They'll provide some feedback, yes. Your tutor might say to you, and they should actually, but they're not going to read your entire paper, by the way. I will tell you that. If you've written a 10-page paper and you're looking for a tutor to help you scale it down, they most likely will give you some feedback such as, okay, Stephen, first of all, did you answer the question? I think the first question is, did you answer the question? I mean, typically right in that first page or that second page, you can kind of get an idea if the student is answering the question, or at least going down a different path. So the tutor can then right at that point provide that you're going down a different path. The other thing too is you should do that yourself. Read it out loud and see if in fact it's answering the question, or if in fact you're swaying in a different direction. The other thing too is, are you covering too many topics? So yes, a tutor can help you kind of maybe pare down, an idea for your paper, all right? And then maybe give you some strategies on how to make sure you stay within the requirements of the assignment, through outlines, say, for instance, okay? Or look at it maybe in a different manner of how you can get it down, okay? So hopefully that helps. So I guess yes and no. There, again, like I said, it's a fine line. The tutor is not going to be able to read a 10-page paper, come back and work with you hours on end for the week, okay? But certainly can help you pare it down. Okay. Stephen, you know something? If you'd like to talk about this further, I might be able to be to be of assistance to you, and maybe give you some other resources as well. So if you like, here, I'm going to give you my email address and my phone number as well, if you like. And we can talk about this a little bit further, okay? Great. Okay. All right, so let's talk about academic coaching. Okay, now this is slightly different. Okay, this is not a tutor. This is not a course assistant. Their role is not to assist you with your subjects. It's more on the skills. You're welcome, Stephen. It's more of the skills, okay, or the skill development, and it's also to increase your awareness of some of the resources and the services that we have here at the college. Okay, typically the coach works one-on-one with a student. We're just going to slightly change that in the future, that I'm looking at academic coaches to work with groups, or at least just to be available when students need some help. So look for that in the future, but right now I'm making the assignment one-to-one. And really what the role is of the academic coach is to touch base with you once a week, okay? And really what they're focusing on, and typically these are the ones that come up a lot. I'm having a hard time navigating Angel. I'm really having a hard time managing my time. I'm falling behind, okay? Study skills, it just doesn't seem, I study, I do all of the work, I hand it in, and I get poor grades. They'll look at, okay, well, how are you studying? What are the strategies you're using? Goal setting, okay? A lot lot of students sometimes don't set some goals, and if they do, maybe the goals are a little too far-reaching. The coach can assist with that. Maybe also helping with some decisions as far as, like for instance, Stephen, you mentioned papers. What topic am I going to select for my final project? Sometimes these courses, they ask you in the first 1 or 2 modules to start thinking about a topic for your final thesis or your final paper, and you're having a really hard time. Or, for instance, I had a student who was struggling with, she has to do a research topic in her second module, and she doesn't know what topic to select. She doesn't understand. And so a coach would say, okay, Joe, let's look at, you've already read how many chapters, and what are those chapters, what were the titles of those chapters? And okay, well, what are some of the topics in those chapters? And what it does, the coach is kind of scaling that down, and like you said, Stephen, maybe paring some of those things down, and the student could say, oh, okay, I'll pick that topic. That's all the instructor is asking. Okay, you've read all of this in chapters 1 through whatever 4. Certain topics were highlighted. The instructor really wants you to pick a topic in that reading and maybe dig a little bit deeper and do a research paper on it. Okay, so that's what a coach would do. And of course, the coach is also there to encourage, support, and assist. Okay, so if you're, for instance, maybe you're not communicating very well, or the instructor you feel is not communicating very well with you, what do you do? All right, so the coach can walk through maybe some of those steps, might make some suggestions on how you might want to approach the instructor, might give you a different perspective, okay, of where the instructor is coming from. So again, that's their role. And of course, obviously, if it is a bigger issue, the coach is going to direct you to the proper office in which you can file a complaint, and they can take it from there. So any questions about the coach? Yes, Stephen, and that's what I'm saying is maybe an academic coach would be perfect. Okay, that can help you with some of those challenges that you might have. Okay. Great. Okay, so here are some other suggestions. Okay, if you're falling behind, or maybe you need some additional development, or maybe you do need a tutor. We do have, I conduct a lot of webinars, and I do learning styles, time management. I don't do procrastination. We do have some resources and links on procrastination. Procrastination can really, be defined very differently. I use procrastination in time management, but procrastination can take, a different direction. There's also some resources that you can find on that Learning Support tab, that link that I sent, regarding, strategies about reading. Like, for instance, I have a question. How many of you read? If you have to, you've got 3 classes, and each class is requiring that you read like 150 pages out of, 3 textbooks. How are you approaching that? Are you reading all of it from one chapter to the next? So Stephen says yes. How about everybody else? Melissa says yes. Okay, Daniel says mostly. Okay. Everybody says yes. Okay. Okay. So, okay, so Melissa goes back and then skims. Okay, I do the opposite. I skim first, and then I read. Okay, and keep notes, yes. Now, depending on the subject, you might have to read from one chapter all the way through to chapter 4 or 5, okay? Especially if there's nothing that's bolded or underlined or anything for that matter. When you skim, it kind of gives you an idea of where you should be focusing your attention. The other thing, too, is how many of you read, and I'll get into this in a minute, how many of you read the assignment before you start writing, or before you start reading? Correct, Rachel, yes. Okay, good. Okay, so Diane says she does not. Okay, Rob says always, I do. Okay, here's the thing. Do not start reading unless you read the assignment. Okay, or if you have an assignment where you get to pick, okay, the topic you want to write about, select your select your topic first and then go read. Because when you're reading, you're not sure how you're really going to answer the assignment if you don't know what the assignment is, and then you have to go back. Okay? So I read the assignment first, okay, read what is expected from the discussions, and then go start reading. Okay? Then you can start taking notes, and while you're reading, you're already forming some way of how you're going to address that question or that assignment. Okay? So it is a good strategy, and I know Diane says you don't want to waste time. You're really not wasting time. You're actually saving time by knowing what is expected before you start reading. The other thing too is that depending on the course, sometimes there's a chapter or two that really don't even apply to the assignment. It might be filler, okay? And I'm not saying, by the way, to skip chapters. What I'm saying is you can always go back and read them after you have completed your assignment. Go back and read when you have the time. So those are some of the suggestions, by the way, on our website when it comes to reading, okay, strategies. The other thing, the index and the table of contents are just wonderful, okay, tools. Yeah, if you don't, going back is slow and painful. Stephen, then again, there's other options too of how do you tag that information, okay, in your book. If you don't want to write in your book, keep a notebook next to you and put, you know, key points as you're reading. This is what I suggest to my students, is as you're reading, put page 120, keyword X, good point, want to add this to my paper. You know, just some little things. So then when you go back and you're going to start writing your paper, okay, then you know where you're supposed to go, all right? Or, geez, this is an interesting point on page, you know, 220, not sure how I'm going to use it, but I want to put this, right. And you can definitely use Post-its as well. Rachel says, with this type of learning, I'm reading and rereading module assignments as I feel I'm always missing something. I print modules and go back and forth. And that's fine too. It's fine to go back and review because sometimes some of the assignments are not clear, you know, and you think you understand it and you start reading and they go, oh, I'm not sure, and you go back. So that's okay. And printing the modules I think is a very good idea. I'm in grad school right now. That's an excellent idea. Keep a binder for each course. I'm in grad school right now, and what I do is that I kind of use different strategies depending on the type of assignment, but I will put a Post-it in there. I also bring the assignment. I print out what the assignment is. I read it a couple times because I've missed some things as well, and I make sure that as I'm writing notes, am I really answering the question? And am I framing the way I'm going to respond in the manner that is clear? Okay, so there's nothing wrong with that. So like the binder, for instance, I sometimes don't bring my binder. I just bring the assignment that's due, okay, or I have folders that say week 1, week 2, week 3, or module 1, 2, and 3, and I have all my assignments in there. Same thing with on your computer. You know, module 1 includes all my drafts, okay, and all my notes, say for instance, because if I need to go back, like for instance, let me make a point here. When you're creating your draft papers, okay, by the way, draft papers are meant to be draft papers, so if you've got 5 different drafts, that's good, save them, don't override them. If you're taking stuff out of your papers, I usually have this other document called additional notes that I might use or might not use, all right? And so, Stephen, you had asked, you know, how to pare things down. You know, the reason why I mentioned for some to read it out loud, you might realize that this really doesn't apply. You can go in there and cut and paste it and put it in another document and save it to use later, or not, okay? So, very good. Yes, Diane. So there's lots of different ways that you can approach things. It just depends on, 1, if you're comfortable with those approaches, and 2, if you do decide to take those strategies, you need to do them consistently so that you do become comfortable. But if they're not working, then you have to look at it a different way. And the same thing with the study habits, okay, term planning, etc. There's a lot of resources online on our site that can assist you. And some of the workshops that are available that I do, by the way, let me bring something else up because I think this is really important. So I talked about papers, say for instance. You know, let's say for instance you're getting your papers back, and they have a lot of feedback, and the feedback might be you're not citing your sources properly, or you're not citing at all, or the teacher is questioning, are you plagiarizing? I would suggest going to the library, which I just pushed that out as well. And under the library there are a couple of topics, and one, the second to the last, is citing your sources. So part of those assignments and understanding your assignments is also understanding the formatting. And so the academic coach could provide basically this resource, tell you here, go here. They might also provide some other resources that they've used as a student. Okay, same thing with a course assistant and a peer tutor, by the way. All right, they might say, hey, let's go here. Library workshops. This is the other part I wanted to bring up. Library workshops, they cover lots of things. And today is what? October 3rd. Okay, so October 3rd tonight, they're talking about using RefWorks. RefWorks is, okay, a tool. Matter of fact, if we go in here, I'll read it specifically. It's an online tool, okay, that the library subscribes to, and what it does is it allows you to import citations, okay, keep track of your research sources and notes, and then it creates perfectly formatted citations and bibliographies, okay? So this is a hands-on workshop that will teach you all of that. And so my suggestion is, if you're a little weak on the citing and you're not really quite sure, sign up for it tonight. It's free, 6:30 to 8 o'clock tonight. They go in and they use Illuminate, okay, the same tool that you're using here today. And of course there's other workshops, like for instance, Better Sources, Better Papers. Again, going back, maybe your paper that you wrote was really weak, or you used really bad sources. They weren't reliable. Okay, they're going to go through what makes a good source and what makes a bad source. So that's that. And then I had mentioned some of the workshops that we have. You're welcome, Rachel. I just want to go back to one more thing, and then we'll go into I've already really kind of covered it. Let me go to the next slide. Actually, no. Let me go back here. I'm going to push out the Learning Support tab one more time because I want to point out other workshops. So don't wait for workshops to pop up on your announcements. If you go to the Learning Support tab, again, I know I pushed it back out again, but on the bottom right-hand corner, Academic Support and Study Skills, there are study skill workshops. At least they call them study skill workshops. They're really workshops. If you're close to a center and you find that there's a workshop that really applies, you can apply. You can register for that workshop, by the way. All right. If better yet, if they have a workshop that's not online and you're close and you can go into the center, sign up for the workshop. There is no problem with that, and you don't have to go through me to do that. So let's look down at the October. So if I look at CDL, the next workshop is next week. It says, do you know your learning style and why it's important? And then we have writing college papers, which, by the way, if you're really strong in writing papers, don't attend this. If you want to just kind of refresh, your memory as far as college papers, attend. It is basic. So if you're looking for something a little bit more in depth, that's not the workshop. And then there's some other ones. So again, become familiar with some of the workshops. And then let me see here, I got a couple minutes. So, okay, so Stephen, thank you, I got it. Yeah, that's okay, Stephen. This is why I do these workshops, because a lot to remember. There's a lot of things here at the college. Sometimes, they do get lost. So, smarter measure, if you did do it during the orientation, great. If not, this is really assessing your online readiness, and then it just provides some suggestions of how to increase your readiness for online. List of services college-wide. Okay, you don't have to write this down. You will get the PowerPoint. And then if you need Angel assistance, there are tutorials out there on our site. And then if you need reading, writing, and math skills, there is a My Foundations Lab modules that assess those areas and then provide you I don't want to say exercises, but I guess I'm going to say exercises to develop those skills. And then here's a cheat sheet. Again, you'll get this with a PowerPoint. I already pushed out the Learning Support tab to everybody. Hopefully you bookmarked that. The Peer Tutor Program website, hopefully you bookmarked that. Smart Thinking is right on the Learning Support tab. Writing Coach, if you find that you need further developing, further help with developing your writing, meaning that you're really having a hard time developing a structured sentence, Smart Thinking is not that place. We do have writing coaches. That has to come through me. I ask for a sample of your writing and the feedback from the instructor, and then we go from there. I talked about the Academic Coach Program. That you can request either through the Peer Tutor website or through that email. I gave you the information about the library, my contact information. I did give you some contact information. And then here's another site I'm going to push out to you that I want you to bookmark right now. If you're not aware of it, is Khan Academy. Excellent site. Again, not tutoring, but very, very short videos on math, sciences, finances, computer science, humanities, and others. So I highly suggest looking at it. They're free videos. And again, they're very basic. They build on a concept. So for instance, if I take statistics, you're having a hard time with standard deviation. What is standard deviation? I don't know. And you've worked with a tutor, or maybe you've asked the instructor, you've read the textbook. Go here. They have a short video on standard deviation. Okay? So that concludes my presentation. Okay? Any questions, comments? Yes, Purdue OWL was very helpful as well. And that particular resource you can find on the library webpage. Yes, Khan is wonderful. You're welcome, Stephen. And Stephen, if you want to talk to me, just reach out to me, okay? My schedule this week, meetings are a little light this week, thank goodness. I'm glad it was help. Okay, great. Thank you, Rachel. That's fine, Stephen. Go right ahead. Anytime. Okay, everyone. Well, you have a good evening, or good afternoon, I should say. If you need to, like I said, need to reach me, or you need to reach my office, if I'm going to just put this down. I think you already have the email to the office because you had to RSVP. But I'm going to put it down one more time. There you go. Okay? And look for the recording in the PowerPoint Friday. All right, I'm going to stop the recording.